Alright, in this video I want to talk about dismissing the truth, just disregarding it. And that's what's been going on with me lately here. Not that I've been dismissing the truth, but I've been dealing with people who have been very dismissive, super dismissive. And this is Catholics and Christians alike. I've been in different forums on MeWe, and I've been just trying to keep things simple as of late. And focusing on this because a lot of them are legalists, right? They believe that they need to obey God, they need to keep the Ten Commandments, they need to keep the seventh-day Sabbath, they need to do their church's rituals and all these things in order to hopefully be saved, right? And I say, okay, well, can you reconcile this passage? And there's a couple other ones I use, but this is the main one, to your beliefs, to the rest of the Bible. Because it says here in Ephesians chapter 2, verses 8 and 9, "For by grace are ye saved through faith, and that not of yourselves, it is the gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast." So, through our faith, that's the only thing coming from us, just believing and trusting God, no work at all, in putting that belief and trust into God's grace, which is a gift, and it's a free gift. When we look at Romans, free gift of grace, it's not of ourselves, it has nothing to do with us, because grace is undeserved and unearned, making it clear here in verse 9, saying not of works, so nothing that you do, because if you did works, then you would earn it, you would deserve it, but you don't. And it says, lest any man should boast, right? So, I asked them, hey, reconcile this. Reconcile to this, to your beliefs about having to keep the law and do all these things to hopefully be saved. And they just ignore it. That's what they do. They don't explain it. They'll say something about, well, does it say here that you can break the Ten Commandments? No. But it doesn't say here that you must keep the Ten Commandments either. Right? I mean, it's like asking if Genesis 1 verse 1 says that you can break the Ten Commandments. No, but it doesn't say you have to keep them either, because it has nothing to do with the Ten Commandments. As this passage here it is. It's about being saved and how you're saved. Right? So they're just dismissive to it, and even when you back them in the corner and you finally get them to respond to it, they don't. Right? They just reject it, and it's these same people, not always Catholic, because the Catholics are kind of like whatever to the Bible. You know, I'll take parts of it if it agrees with my beliefs, and they're pretty open about that because they don't believe in the Bible alone. But there's these other people who believe in the Bible alone, and you eat every word of God, but they'll just throw this part out. They won't eat this up, right? And it's just crazy. It really is. But there was a guy asking me to reconcile this to this passage here, Romans chapter 6, verses 1 and 2. It says, "What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? God forbid. How shall we that are dead to sin live any longer therein?" So he's like, hey, how do you reconcile it to this? Because I was asking him to reconcile it. So of course he's not going to, because he can't. So he asked me, why don't you do it? Reconcile it to this. This verse says, you shouldn't go sin. And you're right. But look what it says. Shall we sin that grace may abound? So when you sin, grace abounds. Because grace is undeserved and unearned. So if you sin more, that's more grace because you deserve it even less. You're even further away from earning it. Not that you could, right? But you're even further away. It's like instead of you just having no money, now you're in debt, right? You're in a lot of debt because you still sin. So you're just adding debt upon debt, right? So that's what is being said here. And Paul is saying, God forbid. You're dead to sin. Why are you going to live any longer therein, right? But a big thing people have a problem with is that Paul, didn't mean to say sin, that Paul has a problem with sin, that he still struggles with it. You read in the very next chapter, right? Chapter 7 over here. It even says it for this thing they add in here, struggle with sin. He's saying that there's nothing good in his flesh, right? The things that he wants to do that are good, his flesh will at times keep him from doing this. And there's times that things are evil that he doesn't want to do, that his flesh gets him to do. And he's like, oh, what wretched man that I am, who will deliver me from this body of death, right? So even though he's saying that we should not live in sin, he understands that we're going to struggle. He's just encouraging us not to, and that grace abounds because of the sin. And I just have this up here to bring up a context of what he was just talking about, right? Because was just talking about in chapters 2 and somewhat into chapter 3 about being under the law and having to keep the law to be justified. But it was all to show you that you're not keeping the law. So you are not going to be justified because you have to keep it perfectly, like Jesus did, in order to be justified by the law, right? So he's talking about that, right? And then he says over here at verse 15, but not as the offense, so as also the gift. For if through the offense of one man, of one many be dead, much more the grace of God, that the gift by grace, which is by one man, Jesus Christ, hath abound unto many. Right? It's referring to it as a gift. A gift, and right here it says, the free gift is of many offenses unto justification. Get even more detail of what's going on in Ephesians, right? Receive an abundance of grace and of the gift of righteousness. Right? And he's going in on this. So when you come over to here, I just wanted to make clear the context that, he's saying, by grace, when you sin, grace becomes even bigger because you deserve it less, you're in debt, grace has just become bigger. You're still saved, just the grace is bigger that has now saved your sorry ass, right? So he's encouraging you not to do that. And there's good reason in it. There's a whole lot of stuff I get into in other videos. There's actually one I'm getting ready to do about rewards. But I mainly wanted to focus on this. If you're a legalist, hey, why are you being dismissive? So anyway, thanks for watching, and take care.